Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. We're going to do a college conference preview. We're going to look at the Big 12, and I'm joined in studio with Tony Finn of Wager Talk and Brian Leonard. Guys, the Big 12, it starts with Oklahoma, and then it's the rest of the conference. And barring injuries or complete collapse, this is supposed to be Oklahoma's conference to run away with this year. Got one of the best quarterbacks in the country, Baker Mayfield, last year, just lit the team up. Tony, this is your old stomping grounds. What do you got to say with the Big 12?
Well, I think you summed it up pretty well. It's Oklahoma's. They're the Sooners' conference to win. Questions are: is there any value on Oklahoma week to week as far as betting goes? Their public perception. You made mention Baker Mayfield. He's an absolutely perfect fit to Lincoln Riley's offense. This is a team that only needs to play pedestrian defense to probably win the conference.
Brian, they've got a big game early in the season with Ohio State, and they get the benefit of catching Ohio State team early in the season this year after just, huge losses to graduation, going to the NFL and such. Does Ohio State have a shot to go in there and beat Oklahoma?
They do. This Oklahoma team, I've got them rated 4 points better than anybody else in the conference. So as you pointed out, it's theirs to lose. But when was the last time Oklahoma went into a season with high expectations and actually lived up to it? Because of some of the other teams in this conference that are having some off-the-field problems, this conference may not be as strong as it has been in the past. So if something happens where Oklahoma loses to Ohio State, I think they're going to have to sweep to get a chance to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, losing to Ohio State, which we know by season's end, Ohio State's going to be strong. They don't. It's not a rebuilding year, it's a reloading year, as we talk about so much with the big powerhouses. Baylor, one of those teams with the off-season problems, guys. I think that the public is going to overreact. The coach is gone, everything that's gone on down there, and I think there's going to actually, for the first time, be some value with Baylor. You've got a new coach who's not an up-tempo type of guy, but you can't change this offense completely overnight. And they've got a quarterback that, if he stays healthy, if you remember last year, this team was 7-0, and people were talking Seth Russell is a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate before he got injured last year. And we saw Baylor move quarterbacks around, and they ended up all the way down to the third-string quarterback, but the team was still there and competitive. I think that they're going to do okay this year, and I think we're going to find some spots with Baylor where we're going to get the benefit of the line, which in the last few years we've had, they've been just high-priced every game.
Yeah, and talking to some sportsbook managers, Oregon and Baylor in Alabama, every week the lines come out, they put them up too high, and they continue to bet them. So, yeah, I think this is the one year we can actually try to make some money on Baylor, and I think they're a team that we can do that on. And take a look at the quarterbacks that have come out of Baylor that were so highly touted. RG3, yeah, I think Baylor's a team we can make some money on. TCU is another team. I think this is a little bit underrated. And I like Texas, but I think a lot of people like Texas, so we may not see that value coming out of Texas.
Well, let's segue into TCU that you mentioned there. They got to retool the whole offense, and they're breaking in a new quarterback. It's not like they're breaking in a quarterback that has no experience. They're just bringing in a quarterback that was at Texas A&M. Kenny Hill transferred. He showed some signs of having some talent, but also some signs of immaturity there at A&M. The problem is they've only got one returning starter on the offensive line, and I'm not as concerned with a team that's got talent if, they got the fundamental, the nucleus of the line, some continuity there. You're going to be breaking guys in on the offensive line. You've got a quarterback that's got to learn your system now. I'm a little bit concerned about TCU early in the season, but Tony, I think as the season goes on, this will be a team that should be better later in the season for value betting-wise than they will be at the beginning of the season.
Very likely. This is a team, as you mentioned, has to kind of grow into their offense with young players, new players. They may, if you can put Big 12 and defense in the same sentence,
yeah, not often.
They may have the best defense, and they're going to probably live and die early on with their defense, TCU. And they're flying under the radar. I think there's some money to be made value-wise.
Brian, the last team we'll mention as we're running out of time on this one, Texas. We always talk about year 3 of a coaching, change, that's where you should see the biggest improvement or drop off, because now it's their own recruits. And, when you go to a big program like Texas, they're not real patient with you. They want to see results now. And would you say Charlie Strong might be on the hot seat this year if the Texas team doesn't take that step forward?
Yeah, he's definitely on the hot seat. As many faults as Mac Brown had, he won. And this is just, Texas is the team in Texas. They've got so many good colleges there, but everybody as a kid, when you're growing up, you want to play for the Texas Longhorns. So, this is a big season for them. They've got to stay healthy, but I think they're a team that could go under the radar a little bit.
Do you think, though, that the one problem with Texas is that Charlie Strong tries to play that smash mouth football a little bit, and that just doesn't work in this wide open?
I'm sorry. I think it's an advantage because all these teams have gone to such a high up-tempo situation. You see that all the time. Your defense practices against that. The other teams don't practice against that kind of offense. So the TCUs, if they are going to deal it back a little bit, those teams are going to have an advantage, I believe.
I agree with you on the change of style there. The problem for Texas, as we close this up, is that last year their defense was horrid at times, and they got to. If you're going to play smash mouth, you're not going to be putting a lot of points on the board. So you can't get into games where you need, if you go down the field and take 7 minutes to score a touchdown, but then you give the touchdown up in 2 minutes to these fast-paced offenses on the other side, you're in trouble. They got to shore up that defense.
They're going to open it up a little bit more offensively this year, so they're going to be more into that too. But they're the team that can physically run on some of these other teams.
All right, guys. Hey, head over to Wager Talk. If you're brand new to Wager Talk, after your first purchase of $12 or more, email support at Wager Talk. Put your username in the email. We're going to put $50 in your account just for your first purchase at Wager Talk. It's our way of saying thank you. We'll have that in your account within 24 hours of your first purchase. Check it out at wagertalk.com. We'll be back with more.